in charge. So we're going to head on down to that as we have Boros Energy on your left versus Is It Prowess on your right.
So this is going to be a quick matchup. Like, so when the parents went up and we kind of see what the decks were, we're like, oh, this one's going to be quick. So we're going to get this one on first. This is kind of the hot spiciness in the format at the minute. Is It Prowess using the core steel cutter to its advantage, being able to get that big one shot, going up against the known, the tested, the trusted Boros Energy deck, and Boros Energy going to be on the play here. How key is that, and how does this matchup normally pan out?
Yeah, so I mean, being on the play is always really great with these decks that curve out here. You see, Alden didn't have a turn one play. Not super normal. The Boros Energy deck, plays a lot of them. The Is It Prowess deck here, they're having a turn one DRC really kind of helps there. It looks like Austin is just going to bobble themselves after Surveilling, leaving on top.
17 one drops in this build of Boros Energy. Here comes the Surveil. Are we playing the full 2 copies in this list? I like how we used to play 1. Now we're teetering on 2. Same with Arena of Glories. You see these numbers kind of inking up time and time again because just the value of these cards and being so powerful. Even in the early games like this, we can sculpt a hand. Maybe we need some lands. Maybe we need some threats. Now we know what against. Or on the flip side, maybe later on we need to get those Arena of Glories far enough. And of course, these Surveil lands count as both land types. We're going to go to the prison, get the status prison down, get that off the board now. No point waiting around because, of course, any spell played in response will give us a free Surveil to Austin on the right of our screens. Draws to the turns. Now looking to kind of rebuild. Is this going to be a good turn for potentially plotting? No, we're going to go surveilling ourselves. Have a bit of a setup. And are we going to see this like a little bit of back and forth, jockeying for positions? Austin going to try and set up for this one big turn with Alden trying to protect himself for that one big turn if it's to happen. Did see there's a go back discharge in the hand.
Yeah, that often happens. Also, with cards like Corey Steelcutter, you're kind of incentivized to have a bunch of double turns, right? As you are with Prowess creatures as well. So Austin here drew the Surveyor land off the bobble and probably just kind of knew like, hey, I can hold up Bolt here. So if something like a Johnny comes down and you try and flip it with something, I'll have an answer to it. But I kind of want to wait to play both my cards anyways, as Surveilling Away Flage is very strong.
High rolling. Now, is that your signature or the artist signature on that?
That's the artist signature.
Right, when I see you again face to face, I want you to sign my ones. That's all I know.
I'll do it. I number them when I sign them. As we do see, I'll slot Pride into a Johnny. A lot of cats in the building.
Are you a cat or a dog person?
I'm a dog person. I don't dislike cats. I'm just allergic to cats. That's kind of the big issue. So
that would be a deal breaker. Yeah, that would definitely be a deal breaker in that scenario. Just going to pass the turn back. Does have one red end of turn if someone wants to use it. And looks like we are. We're going to get the Johnny off the board with a lightning bolt.
Yeah, Austin does have Lava Dart in hand, but we talked about before, you kind of want to set these bigger double spelly turns. Also, you don't want to flip the Johnny, right? So yeah. All makes sense.
We're in this like weird holding pattern that we need to get things off the board on the other side, but also if we get things off the board, we're only a land drop away from getting a hasty Flage out the graveyard potentially. So there's a lot that Austin's got to kind of think about and navigate here to try and turn the corner, so to speak. So I feel like that Flage in the graveyard is really going to play a big impact in this game.
It is a beautiful mountain here from Austin. I want to shout that out. But yeah, you maybe don't want to kill the Ocelot Pride on your turn, because if you do, then the Pride's in the graveyard, which means, Flage plus fetch land means flaging.
We talk about a nice basic mountain. This is a nice EI here. Expressive Iteration going to be cast. One to the hand, one to the bottom, one to exile that we can play to the end of the turn. Didn't get a look at what went to the bottom and top, but we do know about that. Wooded Foothills is now in exile, so that can be a land drop for the turn. I see the lightning bolt in hand, I believe, as well as a mutagenic roof and a cur.
Yep.
Oh, we've already played a land drop for the turn. My apologies.
Yeah, I think Austin was trying to maybe play around something like Preordain getting hit and wanted to have the blue land set up already. But ends up meaning we lose a little bit of expressive iteration value. As another Johnny comes down.
Jeez, okay. No Lava Dart in response. Or maybe there is? Question mark. Nope, we're just going to lightning bolt the Johnny itself straight away. Okay, question. Would you, and I think this pans out on how much we respect each deck here. We could have gone back and discharged one of the cat tokens there to flip the Johnny in response to that bolt. Are we leaving that discharge because it's one of our only instant speed ways to deal with, say, a a slick shot.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the idea. Slick shot's kind of a bigger issue right now.
Mhm.
And also, our static person's about to go away on this DRC, so you maybe need to actually clear the DRC as well. But ideally, really, what you want to have happen is, Austin plays something, you discharge it, get to keep the prison around, and kill Austin's play. So, like, a slick shot here would be a good example of that, and then be pretty happy as here comes the mainstake, Corey Cutter.
Coil Steel Cut. So when we play the second spell for the turn, it triggers. That's going to generate a 1/1 monk with prowess, and you get to equip it for free if you want to. To the one it came to. Why wouldn't you? I don't know, but it's going to make it a 2/2 body moving forward. And do we have a land drop for the turn? Do I have a Mutagenic Growth in hand? And again, one of the scary things about this deck, just because the tapped out doesn't mean that we don't have spells to cast and protect against damage-based removal, which is what Alden has got.
Yeah. Now, Alden has the ability to bring back Flash if we have the fourth land. I don't know if we do. The static prison should be gone now.
Yeah, static prison needs to go into the graveyard, which brings the Darcy back.
I think it is the beginning of the main phase thing. So Alden might have been thinking about discharging and then paying as well.
Yeah, so, makes sense.
Yeah,
it is after you've drawn your card, you get to decide on that when it goes on.
Yeah, so one of those weird in real life moments, we feel like it's the main phase, but technically we're probably still in the draw phase. And, sometimes here in the commentator booth, it's a little hard to know exactly where we are. But this DRC in play is great for Austin, letting us sculpt our hand a little.
Yeah, it's also going to come in as a 3/3 as well because we do have Delirium. Here comes discard 2 cards off the Seasoned Pyromancer. Flage is going to be one of them as well as Ragavan, which means 2 1/1 elementals is going to come in. Really hoping to hit that land drop. We've been holding 1 red mana up the whole game in case there was a hasty threat off the top, like something like a slick shot. Does hit the land. I think we might have drew double land actually.
I think we did too. Yeah, I think we got Windswept Heath and Arid Mesa, but we still have that discharge to protect us from some, shenanigans. Might even see a discharge here just to clear this DRC.
And then, of course, next time we've got a hasty Flage out of the graveyard as well, which is going to be huge. So that might even just put the pressure on Austin. Needs to win this turn. Somehow do 18 points of damage.
If there's a deck that can do it, this is the one.
Well, we're fully tapped out. Combat. Tackle these 2 Cat Warrior tokens.
Leaving back the 1/1 in order to maybe block in case of a bunch of pump spells.
Also combat math. 1/1s into 2/2s. Not the best.
Well,
but...
a little bluff situation. You never know. Put Austin to the test. Right. Maybe I got Mutagenic Growth.
Oh my god, we drew Slick Shot. We've got Slick Shot, we've got Lightning Bolt, we've got Mutagenic Growth, and we've got the Violent Urge. Is that enough, Mason? I don't know.
Oh my gosh. If we hadn't lost the land off the EI, it might have been here. As basically Mutagenic Growth is 4 damage with the Slick Shot show off because you get the Slick Shot and its own trigger. That puts Slick Shot to 5. You go to 6 off the Violent Urge, 7, 8. That's 16. You're going to get the Trample Prowess. I think Austin might have lethal. I think he definitely would have had it with another mana. I'm pretty sure we have Delirium because we did bolt the DRC.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've got Delirium. I think this depends on if... Oh, there's a Lava Dart in the graveyard.
Oh, there is a Lava Dart. Yeah, so that's going to trigger...
That's lethal, right?
That should be lethal if I did my math right, and we did have Delirium. Now, we are just kind of assuming, and I think we are there between the bauble, the lands, the creatures, but we're going to find out right now as Austin starts casting cards.
Oh, he drew it off the top. This is huge. So, Slick Shot Show off. That is on your screen. It is got super prowess, which means it get +2/+0 every time we cast a non-creature spell. Has flying, has haste.
Okay,
3 cards in hand.
We didn't main phase it. We didn't main phase Mutagenic Growth, excuse me, in order to get another prowess token, but I don't think we're going to need to because of the Lava Dart, like you mentioned.
So a little bit of math here. So if we go Mutagenic Growth, that's going to give +4 to the Slick Shot. Then we do the Violent Urge. That's going to give +3 to the Slick Shot. That's going to give it 8 power. The Lava Dart gives it to it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Austin didn't have Delirium. I'm not exactly sure. Like, it might have just been discharge.
Instant, land, sorcery. We definitely had Delirium.
Yeah,
I don't know. It doesn't matter now. It's done.
Yeah, and also this is one of the things, right? Like part of Magic is being able to sort of figure out these spots and see when you do and don't have lethal, even if you do have it, right? So Austin, with a little bit of a misstep there, does not mean the match is over by any means. Can still very easily win game number 2 and 3 here, as the players are going to start sideboarding, and Alden very quickly sideboards.
Well, let's get started on Austin's side. Let's look at this sideboard. So we've got Alpine Moon, Consigned to Memory, Into the Floodmoor, Meltdown, Spell Pierce, Surgical Extraction, Unholy Heat, and Torment Crypt. What do you like?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting position here on like what do you actually want to bring in. I think, Into the Flood Maw is something I could see us having if you want to like play around some sort of sideboard card from your opponent. It can clear a blocker like a Flage is kind of nice. I could see a similar thing with like maybe having an Unholy Heat if you want to have a little bit of interaction for the board and sort of use your Steel Cutter to amass a big board state and win from there. But for the most part, not there's something that's like, oh yeah, I'm really slamming this down and winning, and winning the game. A little bit of a hiccup there.
Let's have a look over at Alden's side on the Boros Energy deck. Looks like we have got Celestial Purge, Deafening Silence, Ghost Vacuum, Molten Rains, Ominous Chant, Stony Silence, Wrath of the Skies, Wear and Tear, and a Showdown. What do you like?
So I think Deafening Silence is great. That's just not going to allow for multi-spells here for Austin. Put him on the back foot there. Celestial Purge, also just a 2-mana kill spell for everything. Being able to answer the card Corey Steel Cutter, pretty important in that regard. It can, like we just talked about, they can bring in Holy Heats, also just Lava Darts and Bolts, right? And sort of pick away at your creatures, amass some prowess tokens, and sort of nickel and dime you, and then try to get one turn of the trigger prowess 2 or 3 times. So you might even see Wear Tear under that same sort of idea. And also Wrath of the Skies, a lot of 1 and 0 mana things. That's on both sides, but also if you're playing Wrath of the Skies in your energy deck, right? It's because, sometimes your stuff's going to get caught up, but it's worth getting caught up. So, and we see right away the first card Austin draws is Unholy Heat. So it looks like Austin does want to maybe fight over the battlefield a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like a couple of spells, a couple of lands, got a creature in there as well. I think like it's a nice little keep there for Austin. Didn't get a look at Alden's grip, but doesn't like it. It's going to throw them back. Go down to 6. That's fine. We're on the draw. We know how good this deck is. Every single card in it does something really great by itself. Synergizes really well with all the other cards in the deck moving forward. If you had to say there's a key card from both of these two decks, which one would you say?
I would say Corey Steel Cutter for the prowess deck. At least that's the newest thing. I mean, in a lot of ways you could just argue it's like Lava Dart. Like that's really kind of like what moves prowess over the burn decks of old. Like, prowess creatures also in general, I think are just pretty much better. With the energy deck, I think you could argue a lot of things. I think you could argue Ocelot, Pride, Guide of Souls, Ajani, Flage. Obviously, there are other Flage decks. I think really, the energy deck is like efficiency. That's what I would say is the thing that stands out to me.
Right, we're off to the races and kept a 6. We're going to start off with Austin casting that Dragon Rage Channeler. It's going to cost him 2 life points, though. That's the events come into play untap. Let's have a little look. Have we got any turn 1 plays on the other side?
Aldine does have Deafening Silence. We sideboarded in, yeah.
There it is. And I don't think we've got any ways of getting that off, right? Once it sticks, it sticks.
So we do have the Wear Tear. Excuse me, that was the energy player. Pardon me.
Into the Flood mode to do it?
Yeah, into the Flood Maw cans, you can buy a turn. We'll have to note, too, Deafening Silence is only non-creature spells. So you can still trigger Flurry with things like Applied Slick Shot, or just hard-casted one. So Austin can still do that sort of thing. It's just going to be harder to get multiple prowess triggers actually going.
It looks like we've got something, at least a 2-drop in hand. A good one would be the car. Even a Slick Shot would be good here. Well, we got a Preordain.
Yeah, Swiftspear would have been kind of nice as well. Just sort of, do that plus something like this would have been a pretty good one, too.
I think we put lands to the bottom, Slick Shot show off on top. That's what we're going to draw.
I like that.
We have a 1-drop creature to follow up. Get in there for a point of damage and pass the turn.
Yeah, we might even see Austin can break his spells up over multiple turns, right? Like that's one of the big strengths of having all 1-mana cards is just the ability to weave them together. Yeah, so heating this Ajani here, you get to Surveil. And now, Austin is looking to be in a pretty decent spot here. Not great by any means, but, pretty decent.
So land into the graveyard. So still only 3 cards in there. No Delirium just yet. We're missing creature or artifact.
Yeah. Mishra's Bauble could be a great one here to sort of go the distance in that regard.
Another Unholy Heat. Just pull to the front of the grip. Don't know if we really want to use it on that token, but maybe we, value the Surveil here.
Yeah, I don't think I would be over the moon to kill that. If it guaranteed me Delirium, like if that was the missing type, I'd probably be down, because then it's like casting Lightning Bolt, right?
Mhm.
But in this situation, it's a little high risk to throw away your Unholy Heat like that.
Would you have attacked with the Darcy there as well?
No, I don't think so. I think my surveilling is pretty important, and my opponent might fight over this card a little bit. And if they end up fighting over my Slick Shot, then I have Delirium, and if they fight over my DRC, well, then I have my Slick Shot hanging around. So puts Aldine in kind of an awkward position.
Fetching up basic planes here, trying to keep the life total as high as we can. Smart against these powerful, big one-shot Izzet Paras decks.
Yeah, and we might see the strength of Mutagenic Growth here if this Flaysure is after Slick Shot.
3 damage. Do we have the Mutagenic Growth?
It's one that you probably typically want to save. I could see a world where maybe Austin wants to fetch Surveil first, see what the top card of the deck is. Have another Slick Shot. Maybe you're more incentivized to do it to get some burst. But looks like Austin wants it either way.
This is going to cost 2 life for it. I didn't get a good look at what got put in the flat Surveil there.
Yeah, it was pretty quick, so I'm going to guess it was just a land.
Yeah, it makes sense.
All right, they are counting right now. So, and the no attack, hard to know. Could just be, it was Mishra's Bauble, so the Delirium is online.
So yeah, back to it. Now we've got a 3/3 Dragon's Channel that's going to fly over that cat. Surveil end of turn. Oh, do we want to surveil? There's just any dead cards, right? Any sort of lands are going to go in there. Everything else we kind of want at this point.
Yeah, lands to the graveyard. Even if you have a Quarry Steel Cutter, you can equip it to one of your things, right? Then your DRC is bigger than a Flays trigger. Not the end of the world. Not great, but
leaving it on top. Didn't get a great look at it. Another Dragon's Channel is going to enter the board. We've still got that Unholy Heat in hand that we know about. Turn these sideways. That's 4 points of damage. Are we just nickel and diming this? Is this how we're going to get across the line?
Yeah, because it looks like we have Violent Urge and Unholy Heat. So I think Austin's trying to maybe set up like, okay, I don't want to Violent Urge yet because it isn't enough damage. So maybe I can get you to play the board a little bit. I'll Unholy Heat, sort of clear any blockers that could get in my way, and then close the door with this Violent Urge. Because if you Urge right now, it is double striking, and that would be 8 damage from the Slick Shot. But that doesn't mean Aldine's dead, and Aldine might make plays to, be a little different if we know our life total is so low.
I think we might have a Wrath of the Skies in hand.
That would be a big problem for Austin. It would catch the Deafening Silence, though.
There's the 4th lands that we'd need to cast it for 2.
Oh. Okay, we're going to keep the Windswept Teeth.
Because we don't want to shock it in. We need to do this one to get the mountain. So now we only take 1 point in life of damage. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I think because we attacked with that cat, it's just Wrath of the Skies straight up the 1 copy at the sideboard. Here it comes. 2 energy gained. We're going to use that 2 energy. Is there anything we can do in response? No, there isn't over on Austin's side. Whole board to the bin.
Well, you know what? This is why we have control in the backup feature match area, just in case something like this occurs, because Flaysia's coming down. And unless there's something like Into the Flood Maw to answer this, right away, we know we have the Unholy Heat, but it is,
Hey, at least it hasn't got Arena of Glory. But we have the answer for it. Unholy Heat's going to be able to take it out. So only 3 damage is dealt. Pass the turn back. Little surveilling action in the turn you got to imagine here.
Yeah, and for Aldine too, it's surveil and basically put almost anything in the yard just to rush back towards the Flage.
How many cards you got in hand? 2, then the 3rd for the turn. Okay, so yeah, I don't hate just whatever, pretty much whatever it is. It's going to go in the bin unless it's maybe something like a Showdown. I think I'll keep that.
I like Seasoned Pyro is probably Fable. These are all cards that like are going to move through more pieces of cardboard in time.
Goblin Bombardment into a Fable. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good turn.
Yeah.
We'll take that. Make a Goblin Shaman token.
Now, Austin can still kind of burst out of nowhere, right? We saw it in game number 1, the ability to potentially kill our opponent. Slickshot Show Off can maybe cross the finish line.
Bolt the token, sacrifice it, do a point of damage to Austin, drop him down to 6.
All right. You
Ooh.
have to think this is a discard anything line.
Yeah.
Yep. Especially 2 cards that don't have any text right now.
Do we draw into 2 land? One of them being a Surveil?
Yeah, one's Surveil, one's Arena, I think.
It's another land over. Oh, so just a little bit of land, go, land, go.
Now you can sack this Fable the Mirrorbreaker to the bombardment. That would get your 5th extra card in the graveyard. Fetch land makes it easy too. You don't have to lose your goblin that way.
Yeah, but if we did it this way, we could have played Arena and give it haste.
Oh, true. Yeah, which would have been lethal.
It would have basically been an unholy check or not. I say, like, do you have? You've already played 2 this so far. Do you have the 3rd or potentially 4th copy? There's only 3 copies in the deck, so it has drawn all 3.
It's also possible we missaw. Maybe it's not Arena. Very easy little mistake on our end to happen here. So, bringing back Flage.
Take the 3 points of damage. Get off the board again. Dropping down to 3, but now there is a 2/2 on the board.
You also take 1 from the bombardment, sacking it. So now you're at 2. So any creature is lethal. Even your kill spells aren't good enough in that regard. So you have to kill Aldine. You can't let Aldine attack with the shaman or draw a creature.
EI. Bauble. Cutter. And land, I think.
I think you're right.
So 1 into exile, 1 into hand, 1 into the bottom of the library.
Yeah. And Austin can, use the bauble to redraw into something like Lava Dart, and then sack a land in order to kill the Fable.
Question: if we played Cutter into Bauble this turn, it wouldn't trigger, correct? Because the Cutter would actually be the second card.
Yeah, the Cutter is going to be the second spell. Yeah, you need to lead on Cutter when you don't have it already in play.
All right, so Bauble is going to go into exile.
All right.
I would not fetch in this instance. No, We're just going to have the fist bump. Can't get out from underneath this lock. We're going to see Olin take this one down. So we're going to come back to the booth. Going to get Olin in there for an interview. And of course, we do have that backup feature that's still playing out, I believe. Production will tell me in a second if that's still going well. We can spoil it now. What have we got? We've got Control, which we saw earlier on in Garrick's hands, going up against the
Jeskai Ascendancy.
Yeah, the new Jeskai Ascendancy deck floating around, utilizing the Mox Opals, all the Breach players. This is an easy direction for them to go because a lot of the cards kind of move across to this deck as long as you pick up those Cold Steel Cutters, which have been really key. And I'm talking about like new cards that are kind of being printed and kind of moving into, modern. We've got Standard tomorrow is one that I know that we kind of touched on a little bit earlier, but let's go deep into it until we get this interview. Bob's back in Standard. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I mean, Dark Confidants in the Final Fantasy set coming out at the beginning of next month. A lot of news coming up there. Who knows what else is in the set? If we know Dark Confidants at least there. And that's going to be a pretty interesting thing. Like in Standard currently, we have a lot of Dark Confidant riffs, but they all kind of require a little something different, like either a mana more or I need to attack. That kind of thing is pretty huge. Dark Confidant just needs to sort of exist. But the real question is sort of, does Dark Confidant matter enough in Standard? Currently we have a very aggressive Standard format when it goes really big. We'll think more about that as time goes on because Aldine is here and ready to talk to us about some energy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Taking that down, Boris Energy this weekend is the boogeyman of the format right now. Everyone's it's got targets on its back. Why did you bring it this weekend? And side note, how good has Voice of Victory been? Because I'm quite big on this card.
Okay. I brought Energy because it's the deck I play. It's also just the best deck. I'm usually bring the best deck type of person.
Okay.
So that was pretty easy choice. As far as Voice of Victory goes, it's okay. It's good with Bombardment. It's good with Pride. I sided it out like every single matchup this weekend. So. Yeah.
Interesting.
Gotcha. So you mentioned you're kind of a best deck kind of gamer. Is Modern in the format you like to play the most? What sort of where you like to compete with Magic the most?
Whatever is RCQ format, I just like playing. So whatever I can go to a tournament to and play, I'm just going to play that.
So basically, getting to the PT, that's the dream, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
whatever gets you to the PT, that's where we want to get to, which of course the NRG does. If you're able to win today, you get automatic invite to the championships. Take that one down, you're straight into next year's PT season. So I'm looking at your deck list here in front of me. It looks pretty stock. Is there anything like, you've had a few reps in it now that you think you'd mix up? Let's look at your sideboard here, kind of stock. You got the one Wrath of the Skies. I've seen a couple of numbers of them floating around. We know that this is the popular deck. Do you think you wanted one because for the mirror, or do you think that's you cut on it? It's what it looks like. So I'm trying to get at.
It's mainly for the mirror. It's also for like affinity stuff. I watch a lot of Misplaced Ginger. I took his list and played
Yeah, we do.
Stony Silence instead of Clarent Conqueror because I think that card is really bad. But yeah, so far so good. Can't really complain.
Spoken like a Misplaced Ginger viewer.
I'm about to say he's going to be happy you got that shout out. He's going to be happy.
Yeah.
Shout out to Derek.
You out here watching us between rounds, buddy. But no, it's good to see you out here. Are we going to see you tomorrow competing in Standard as well?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I imagine we'll probably, given what you said today, we don't want to give any info, but maybe a little cutting's going to happen.
I'm playing Prowess.
You're playing, yeah. Smart gamer.
I love it. Well, congrats on that one. We're going to let you go off and enjoy kind of your long break that you're going to have now before the next round. And hopefully we get to see you in today's top 8.
Thank you.
Good luck in the rest, Aldine.
Right. Back to the booth, which means we get to get down to our backup feature match. So let's get to it. It's going to be time shifted because, of course, we can record these beautiful things for all you people at home. So let's get into it. Blue-white control versus Jeskai Ascendancy. Now, maybe if people aren't up to date on Jeskai Ascendancy, it's big online at the minute. This is probably the first paper tournament we're going to probably see this in at the minute. Talk me through, Mason. What is it? What does it do? What is Ascendancy for people that haven't been playing since the last Khans of Tarkia kind of meta that we had?
Yeah, it's funny, Ascendancy comes back when we come back to Tarkir. Basically, what's happening with this is you're going to want to get Imri in play, and then you have all the zeros. And so you cast a 0, it untaps your Imri, you get +1/+1, you repeat over and over. So Bobble and Legend ruling your Moxes. As we see here, turn 1 from Peter Tubergen, someone who's known for playing these Mox decks, just 5 plays on turn 1, no lands needed. This is a guy that played a lot of Affinity back in the day and knows the power of Mox. And, top 8'd one of the recent RCs as well, playing Mox Opal.
We kept a no lander, technically, like literally there was no lands, and still had 5 permanents on the board. I'm in. Yeah. That's it. I'm done. My first ever deck in Modern was the old school Affinity Pest, Arcbound Ravager, just because someone told me the deck was called Robots. I was like, I'm in. Like, that's how easy and fickle I am, Mason.
You love to hear it. But yeah, this is one of the really strong parts of this deck is, if this Tamiyo dies, we're going to lose one of our lands. But right now, Peter had 2 mana for turn 1, used all of it. Now has the ability to crack clues, has, Bobble 2 if you want to take a look and be like, okay, what's on top of my deck? Do I want to preordain? And it looks like we're going to use Aethos Spellbomb to draw a card here with Tamiyo. And if there's a land, we could flip this Tamiyo on turn 2, and that's such a powerful, sort of in-game spot to be already.
I do have some bad news, though. Garrick does play 3 Wrath of the Skies in the main deck. So that could come up.
It could be huge. And if Peter had the ability to draw an extra card here, it would be massive because then at least the Tamiyo would be around and it threatens to ultimate, which basically wins the game. Fun fact, with your Spellbomb, you sort of have to target something. So Peter's getting rid of the other Mox Amber there.
Just casual 8 permanents, turn 2.
Yep.
Not called null. Confirmed not called. We're just having a little glitch on our end, but it's fine. We'll fight our way through this. I've got actually delete the deck list like an idiot. Will.
Well, looks like Garrick found something that he wanted with the Surveil. Peter is going to take a look and draw a card from the Bobble. Now, it looks like it was done in the upkeep. That way, Peter can flip the Tamiyo if he wants to by popping the other Bobble or popping a clue on his turn.
That's a good key any interaction to kind of understand that. But we're going to have an Orange Chant in the upkeep to turn off any shenanigans. No cards can be played here.
Yeah, it also notably, it's kicked, so you can't attack with the Tamiyo to get an extra clue. Now, we can flip our Tamiyo still with, popping the Soul Guide Lantern or popping the clue. A lot of play available here. But Orm Chance buying a turn, and, we talked about this earlier when we saw Garrick play, the blue-white control deck's turned into much more of a prison-y deck. It's sort of playing this lockout game, less about, like, the hard answer everything. You just have to ignore some of the stuff going on in Modern.
So now this is a problem. So like, I spoke about Wrath of the Skies. What a good key card that could be in this matchup. Now the Tameo is flipped on Planeswalker side, going to be slightly harder for Austin to get that off the board. Still does have answers like Prismatic Ending to get it off, but it's going to be a bit harder. Can't just try and get everything in one foul swift.
Yep, and the Tameo is ticking towards this ultimate that will essentially win the game. Now, not if there's a Narset in the way. Narset will make it so it doesn't do anything.
Where are you on whiteboarded cards?
I like them. I especially like them on hate cards, like Blood Moon Narset. You're going to do your opponent dirty, do them dirty. Get the white border.
That's what I say. I'm like, look, I'm not huge on white one, but like if I've got a card that's going to get my opponent, yeah, I'll have it in white border. Got my white bordered Shatterstorm somewhere.
Yeah, and we're seeing Peter fetch in response to the Surveil land. Looks like we're trying to get an idea on what our top card is. This might inform if we want to fight over this Narset, if we do have a way to fight.
What have we got in the main? We do have Rebukes in the main.
Yeah, it looks like we have Repeal in hand as well. I don't think that can hit Planeswalker. Maybe it can. I'll double check here real quick.
Non-land permanent.
Yeah, so that would bounce it. And it looks like actually Peter's just bouncing the Mox just to use the Repeal as a cantrip here.
Oh, I like it. And that shows experience, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not a play that people commonly play or do. So that's a cool heads up play that does find a Prismatic Ending, which is going to be a great one-man answer to that Tameo next turn if Garrett chooses. Now, Peter, go on.
I was just going to say, I have to assume Peter here is setting up Corey Steelcutter into Mox, into Trigger Prowess, into Kill the Narset, and force a Solitude here.
That's the second spell, so that does generate the Monk token. Peter moves incredible. I know this is time shifted. I don't think have we sped this up production, or is this how fast they're playing? Because
I think it's like probably a 1.25 would be my guess. But Peter is a very fast, very proficient. Been playing Magic for a long time and doing it well, especially these kinds of decks. So
1.1. All right, so a little sped up, but they're still playing incredibly quick here. Getting that extra prowess trigger, that's going to take out the Narset. I think we've got Ascendancy in hand as well.
Yeah, it's either Narset or Ascendancy. It's some gold 3-mana card. I was curious what Peter was going to do on whether, we wanted to pick up Repeal or just work towards the Tameo ultimate. Looks like we're marching on towards the ult.
Are we doing that just to force the Prismatic Ending out of the hand?
I think so. I think that makes the most sense. Also, you might get a better card than the Repeal. Like you could, hit a Preordain or something that you much rather, pick up.
Yep, that's going to go to exile. Then we're going to go fetching. Do we have a follow-up free drop? Lots of Planeswalkers in the deck. We've got the Narset. We've already seen one of those. We've also got the Teferi Time Ravelers. And remember, for LU people just tune in, there is also Jace the Mind Sculptor in this list.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go stock up, though. One of the newer cards. Going from a Jace, which is an old Boomer card, to one of the new Zoomer cards in stock up, and how good this is in this sort of situation.
Yeah, stock up, we talked about this when we talked about Garrick earlier in round number 1, sort of playing like a prison deck, one assembling a lot of A plus B situations, whether that's Narset and Days Undoing or Orm Chant and Isochron Scepter. So having this that, can help find the perfect answer in a traditional game, but also find the lockout pieces when you need it is super huge.
It's kind of deciding, found 2 that he likes. The other 3 go to the bottom. Just past turn, so shields are down.
Peter drawing from the Soul Guide Lantern at the end of turn there. Then I believe had a Bauble as well. So gets a bunch of cards here and it's just sort of staying fully stocked. I mean, look at that hand.
So what bit are we missing at the minute with to be able to go off of the Ascendancy if that is the card we have in hand?
Well, I think we probably have Narset if we led on bouncing the Opal, because the Opal and the Ascendancy would be a bunch of prowess triggers. But you're missing Emery for a guaranteed kill. But one of the things we haven't talked a lot about is just, Ascendancy basically doubles your prowess. So that does mean you can sometimes just sort of win from these spots in a very slick shot show-offies kind of way. You just cast a bunch of 1 and 0 mana cards and kill your opponent.
1 mana, that's going to be a Tameo. That's the second card. That means another Monk's going to get generated, and we will equip the Steel Cutter to it, so it will have haste.
The Monks are also the same size now, which is nice because we played a creature spell.
Yeah, I like it.
And you have Narset that you can play with the Mox. And then Narset draws cards. We haven't talked about this Narset too much, but Narset Jeskai Waymaster. At the beginning of your set, you can discard your hand. If you do, you draw cards equal to the number of spells you cast this turn. So this is a card that, in this deck, this is why you see picking up the Ambers and the Moxen so much, because it's sort of moving through a lot of cards, triggering a lot of prowess, flipping Artamio, and all working towards Narset, the Jeskai Waymaster, to just refill large and in charge. And this is why players have really liked this deck. It can play a lot of different games, whether it's combo, interactive, controlling.
We are, 3 more spells away from winning the game?
We're really close. I mean, the Narset doesn't trigger the prowess, and I think we have a couple lands in hand. But I think Peter, worst case scenario, can just play the Narset, attack for a ton here, and draw 5 cards at the end of turn.
There's Emery.
Looks like we're going to draw 6 as Emery.
We can use the Tamio remember to tick down. That's the Narset.
Yeah, and this is going to be an attack for, I believe 10. That's going to put Garrett to 8. And then Peter's going to draw 7 cards.
Jeez.
Yeah. Oh, he had to discard a Hollow Fountain, though, so I'm not sure if it was worth. We did lose a card. I'll let Twitch chat decide for me there.
That was a heck of a turn.
Yeah.
That was impressive what just happened there.
This deck is really strong. So, I mean, it hasn't caught on as much as I thought it would. This is the deck I've been playing in Modern, and I thought it's been really good. And, it can battle through spots like this. Wrath of the Skies for 2. It's not inherently game over, and this is where things like Narset are so powerful. Even if Narset had died there, right, we would still have that full hand for Peter.
I see. It takes out the Moxes as well. It does leave this Tamio, does leave the Narset, and does leave the Emery on the board.
Yeah, I think Garrick might be dead if Garrick doesn't have a Solitude, because your Emery can target Corey Steelcutter. You get that back. Then you play one of these zeros in your hand. Then you minus your Tamio, pick up the Repeal, replay that, and then that should just be lethal, because Narset's 3. I think we cast 4 spells there with everything we have in hand.
I think we're going for the line that you said. So that's replay this. First spell for the turn.
I like this from Peter. He's double checking them. He knew he wanted this. He's like, okay, yep, I got to this point. There was no force negation. I'm pretty sure there's not a Solitude. That probably would have happened already. I love when you plan out your turn, but then also it's like, okay, there's going to be an inflection point. What can I do to play around the inflection point?
We tick down the Tamio, return the Repeal to hand, play a Bauble into Mox Opal. So that's 1 trigger of prowess. That's enough. Peter's able to navigate masterfully through that, by the way. That isn't something to knock your hat out, ladies. That was a really well executed game plan. And, Garrick just wasn't able to keep up with it. Kind of had that wrath, did what he could, but it was just not going to be enough moving forward. So it is time shifting magic. So we get to go down to, game number 2, where I believe they're still playing it out live. So we're going to join this match and see what's going on and try and break it down for all you beautiful people at home.
All right.
I'm out. I'm done. Okay. Okay. A lot has happened. There's a lot of land. We're going into at least turn 10, 11 here at this point. I see some constructs. I see multiple cutters. I see a Narset. That's just.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I mean, so there's a construct with a cutter. There's a monk. There's some other monks that are turned sideways that I can't tell. Like maybe they were part of that attack. Maybe they got tapped down by a cryptic command or something crazy. Who knows? But look at this too. Peter did all this and ends it all by playing a Narset via Legend Rule just to draw more cards.
And Garrick's at 2, look.
Yeah, and Garrick's left so low. And this is what I really like about the Jeskai deck, is it plays so many roles. It can be proactive. It can be reactive. You can fight through all these different present all these different game plans. You're really hard to sort of hate out, despite kind of like Breach being in a lot of different spots. And a lot of it comes down to kind of execution, I think, with this deck. And I think we're also still in the early days. I think this deck has a lot of room to improve. As we see Peter taking a look at how he sideboarded, looks like this game has been going for a bit. Wants to make sure he's playing to the right outs, especially with Urza Saga searches about to happen.
If our live total is correct, definitely representing lethal on board at the minute. See a Surgical in hand and an Orange Chant.
All right, Orange Chant makes it so we can't attack. So unless we have a counter spell that wins that war.
This is post sideboard, so we didn't have a quick look, but I'll have a look through. On Peter, so we've got I can't remember the name, Ashiok. a Consigned to Memory, Flame of Venor, Flage, Shadow Spear, Pyroclasm, Teferi, and Wear and Tears. And over on Garrick's side, as we saw earlier on, we've got a Celestial Purge, Supreme Verdict, Surgical Extraction, Consigned to Memory, Days Undoing, Teferi, Force Negation, Subtlety, and of course our companion Kahira.
Yeah, and you're seeing this here too. Garrick has to answer this board, but also there's an Urza Saga that can go into turn make, main phase make.
Sure.
Yeah, there's just not much you can really do as we see Garrick has to pick it up.
Don't get me wrong. I'm literally I'm close to ordering some Mox Opals right now. That looks so good. I've got a modern event next weekend that I'm going to, and if I might put some reps in this deck, see how good this really is, because he made it look masterful there, being able to take Garrick down in a clean 2-0, advance to a 4-0 record.
Yeah, it's really strong. It's a really powerful deck. And we've seen just how powerful this sort of thing can be. Just players have been playing it a little bit. It did pretty well in the Mox qualifiers a couple of weeks back when the BNR first happened. We saw people higher on Jeskai Ascendancy. We saw some of the people higher on Narset. It looks like the Narset half of the deck has really won out. And I have to say, seeing that game too really shows why players are leaning on like, hey, have a Ascendancy in Narset because you get to play the fair game a little harder. Now, if you have more Jeskai Ascendancies, you're going to be a bit better against things like Eldrazi, right? You have that ability to actually race and combo kill people a lot more consistently. But they're really saying, hey, I see enough of my deck, I'll find it. And we have Peter Terbergen with us here. So let's go talk to Peter and see how you're doing. Congratulations on being 4-0 and masterfully played. We got to see basically the whole match.
Yeah. Appreciate it. It was, Jarrett's obviously a great player, but I think my deck is just pretty well set up against it. And even just Corey making my constructs get haste and stuff. Some pretty powerful action.
Let's talk about that. You've got some of the new cards that float around. You've also got some of the old cards. You just get Ascendancy floating around out there as well. Talk to me about we've just talked about the difference of Narsets and just get Ascendancies. Some builds are playing 3 of one or the other. You're going for 3 of the Narset. It looks amazing in those matchups.
Oh yeah.
Is this the MVP of the deck?
Yeah, for sure. It's the Narset for 6 was not the biggest one I've had today so far. We've gotten the full 7 before. Pretty nice. But yeah, Ascendancy's nice. I've played a bit with the 2/2 split or more Ascendancies or whatever, and it's okay, but it kind of opens you up to a lot of angles. Whereas like the way I like playing Affinity decks and kind of always have is just trying to set up your deck to have your opponent interact with you as non-profitably as possible. Every turn, my opponent has the best card they can draw, and they use it, and they are further and further behind every turn.
Yeah, and you sort of mentioned how you've always liked playing Affinity. I mean, you're someone who used to play a ton of Mox Opal decks.
Yep.
We've really seen you with the return of Mox Opal kind of, crush it recently.
Nice,
the RC top 8. Yeah, how does it feel having Mox Opal back? This is one of the things they wanted was players like you to kind of have their old love. Does it feel love to be loved?
Oh, yeah, I'm loving it. They've printed a lot of cards that are good with Mox Opal, as it turns out. Yeah, Portable Hole, Cutter, Emery. I guess Emery we've known about, but Tameo's definitely one of my favorite cards. It's been really nice.
So I'm looking at this, like we can tell that you were using this too efficiently. That the appeals to bounce back the 0 cost to then get all the multiple triggers that way. That's not like a just pick a deck up and play it kind of play. That means you've really got the reps in it. How much practice did you have with the deck coming into this weekend to potentially take it down? Because you are now 4-0.
Yeah, I would say a bit. I would say most of the practice was probably prepping for Portland. 90% of my prep with that was playing Affinity, and then realizing in the last week I really should just play this Underworld Breach deck. Which turned out pretty well. Can't complain about that. But I've been doing a lot of standard lately, so I've really only had the chance to play a few, I don't know, maybe probably under 40 matches with the Cutter build. But I took down an RCQ a couple weeks ago, and just kind of feels like the last 10 cards maybe don't matter too much because the rest of the shell is just so powerful. It's kind of hard to mess up, but
must be nice.
Got a lot of offense, which is nice.
We were speaking to that about how like this deck, I kind of expected it to be more popular because like you're really showing how strong it is. It's just a good shell, but also we're in the early stages. And I kind of agree that I don't know if it really matters what the last couple of cards are, but it feels like it's just going to be someone's going to win, maybe you today. And then people are going to realize like, oh, this deck's really great. And then eventually we'll all figure out the last couple of cards once, standard season's done.
Yep. Yeah. Once the hive mind really gets at it, we'll see. But hoping the hate stays nice and low for Indy. It feels like there's a lot of decks that aren't playing much hate at all. So if my deck is thing, it's pretty nice.
I'm going to ask the question then. What is the cards you want to be dodging this weekend? What are you hoping that people have not brought?
Amulet.
Just Amulet deck? You think that's a bad matchup?
Yeah, the Amulet deck, yeah. I haven't played it too much, but I'm worried that they are about as fast as I am, and they have a lot of good interaction. Just like Titan finding Beseiju is like a big, maybe not the biggest trouble, but They're
Mhm.
similarly fast and pretty hard to disrupt. And my build isn't playing a ton of hate. Like I have the one Ashiok on the board, which is nice, of course, but the just kind of
Makes
fundamental strategy is, I think, pretty tough.
Interesting.
Tough to beat. And yeah, I've been losing the amulet for 10 years, but they unban Mox Opal, so I'll take it.
Sure, yeah, a
Why
little,
not?
little hate. Well, thank you so much, Peter, for taking some time to talk
Thank
to
you.
us. We're gonna let you have a break there before the next round starts. We'll be seeing you hopefully later today.
All right, sounds great. Thanks.
See you.
Appreciate it. Right, let's come back to the booth because this is us going to be ending round number 4. We're going to step away, have a short break, and then when we come back, it'll be round number 5 here at the NRG in Chicagoland. Don't go anywhere.